Reporting from Doral, Florida, NBC's Vaughn Hilliard. Jake Sherman is co-founder of Punchbowl News and an MSNBC political contributor. Good to see you, gentlemen. Okay, Vaughn, what kinds of issues are Republicans going to be hashing out today?
Right. Jake is about 200 yards from where I am right now. And I know we're waiting for a 3 p.m. press conference with Speaker Johnson and other House leaders ahead of a 5 p.m. Eastern. That's 3.5 hours from now. Remarks that are going to be delivered by President Trump, who is already here at his Doral property just outside of Miami. There is a lot on the line for the Republican majorities in the Senate, in the House, in these 2 years ahead of the 2026 midterms. And let's be very clear, they're going to have a test right out of the gate. And that is where conversations between particularly Speaker Johnson and President Trump are going to be so key. Come March 14th, you have the government funding deadline, a potential shutdown looming. A little while after that, later this spring, you're also looking at the U.S. hitting the debt ceiling. Those negotiations are going to also have to take place. Of course, there's also much discussion about the reconciliation package that the Senate and the House are going to look to try to sign off on, essentially bringing in tax cut extensions, immigration enforcement spending, energy policy under all one umbrella package. And this is going to be a major test because folks will recall back in December, right before the December holidays, Donald Trump was with the likes of John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, and Speaker Mike Johnson at a football game on a Saturday night. And just 48 hours later, the bipartisan deal for a short-term spending deal that everybody thought that they were on the same page about was effectively blown up on a Monday by Elon Musk and by Donald Trump. And so that is the question mark here for House Republicans is, yes, they have a narrow majority, but it's ultimately going to be the word of Donald Trump and potentially others, including Elon Musk, to ultimately sign off on any legislation or debt ceiling agreement, any government spending deal that were to come from Capitol Hill.
So, Jake, what signs will you be looking for to see if President Trump can keep that razor-thin majority in line and emerge with a plan that he's happy with?
Something concrete, some concrete spending plan, spending and tax plan, spending cut plan that Republicans are singing from the same song sheet on. We've not had that yet so far, but to be clear, this is a complicated process. But to make things even more complicated, Mike Johnson has said he wants a budget passed, and a budget unlocks the reconciliation process. He wants a budget passed in the next month. That's going to be very difficult. So House Republicans have to get on the same page, figure out where they're cutting, how much of the Trump tax cuts they want to extend, and what other taxes they want to cut on top of that. So this is, as Vaughn said, a very critical moment.
So how much pressure is there on the whip, the Republican whip, Tom Emmer, and how effective do you think he'll be, and how critical or not critical in stopping any potential defectors or, I guess, in Trump's eyes, troublemakers?
Yeah, I think that Emmer's is just the tip of the iceberg, but there's a lot below the surface. I mean, there needs to be a plan with remember, let me take a step back here. In 2017, 13 Republicans voted against the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. That was the first tax cut of the Trump era. That was the big legislative achievement in the last Trump administration. You can't lose really more than one here. So you're going to have, it's not only Emmer, it's about finding a plan, finding a large piece of legislation that could attract the support of everybody from Mike Lawler, a moderate, and Brian Fitzpatrick, who represent these, suburban districts, to the hard right. And that's extraordinarily difficult. And it's extraordinarily difficult even given a year. It will be even more difficult in the compressed time frame that House Republican leaders have laid out.
We will be watching and looking forward with great interest to both of your reporting.